December 13th, 1943, 9:27 in the morning. Lieutenant Nathaniel Cordell's hands shake as he holds the telegram, not from fear, from rage, from helplessness, from the weight of words printed on yellow paper that might as well be carved into his chest. Your wife, Vivian, stop, 3 months pregnant, stop complications, stop, need you here. Stop. The paper crumples in his fist. Outside the briefing room window, snow falls across Adak Island. Alaska in December. -15 degrees, wind howling off the Bering Sea like the breath of something ancient and cruel. He looks up. Through the frost on the glass, 3 miles east, the sky darkens. Not clouds, aircraft, 64 of them. 24 Mitsubishi Ki-21 Sally bombers, 40 Nakajima Ki-43 Oscar fighters, all bearing down on his airfield at 240 miles per hour, coming to destroy everything, everyone. Below him, 14 C-47 transport planes sit on the tarmac, loaded with medical supplies, plasma, morphine, sulfa drugs. 200 wounded soldiers at Attu Island are waiting for those supplies. Waiting to live. Waiting to die. In the field hospital, 63 men lay in cots. Shrapnel wounds, frostbite, infections. Most of them won't survive another Japanese raid, and Sergeant Everett Calloway. Father of 3. The man who maintains Nate's P-40 like it's his own child, who showed Nate photos of his daughters just this morning, who swore this bird would bring him back safe. Everett is down there right now, unprotected. The radio crackles. Eagle 4-4, this is Tower. Confirm visual on bogies, over. Nate presses the transmit button. His voice is steady, calm, like he's ordering breakfast. Tower, Eagle 4-4. I confirm 64 aircraft, 24 bombers, 40 fighters bearing direct for Adak, 3 miles out, closing fast. Silence on the radio, then Eagle 4-4 return to base immediately. Reinforcements inbound from Jorhat. ETA 35 minutes. Acknowledge. 35 minutes. Nate does the math. The Japanese formation is flying at 240 miles per hour. 3 miles equals 45 seconds until they reach bombing range. Once they release, there's no stopping it. The bombs fall, the base burns, the transports explode, the hospital collapses, Everett dies, 200 soldiers at Attu die, and Nate lives, flies back, holds Vivian, meets his child, lives with the knowledge that he chose safety over duty. 35 minutes is 34 minutes too late. He looks down at his instrument panel. Fuel gauge 180 gallons, enough for 90 minutes of flight time at combat power. Ammunition counter 1,800 rounds across 650 caliber Browning machine guns. Enough for approximately 15 seconds of sustained fire. 15 seconds to stop 64 aircraft. The manual is clear. Standard operating procedure for a fighter pilot facing odds greater than 5-to-1 shadow. The formation report positions wait for backup, do not engage. Nate is facing odds of 64-to-1. The manual says retreat. The manual says live. The manual says let someone else die. He reaches into his flight suit pocket, pulls out a photograph. Vivian. Taken last summer in Seattle, Pike Place Market. She's laughing, head thrown back, sun in her hair, one hand on her stomach. She didn't know she was pregnant yet, but somehow in that photo she looks like she already knows. On the back in her handwriting, return to us. Nate closes his eyes, opens them, pushes the throttle forward. His Allison V1710 engine responds immediately. Manifold pressure climbs to 54 inches. The P-40 accelerates. 320 miles per hour, then 350. The airframe shudders, metal singing under stress. He rolls inverted, pulls the nose down, dives toward the bomber formation from their 7 o'clock high position. 4,000 feet above them. Coming out of the sun. They haven't seen him yet. Their attention is forward, fixed on the target. He has one advantage, surprise and one promise to break. Tower, this is Eagle 4-4, I'm engaging. Static. Then Major Augustus Cross's voice, sharp, commanding. Cordell, that is a direct order, return to base, that's suicide. Nate doesn't respond immediately. He watches his airspeed build, 360, 380. The dive steepens, the enemy formation grows larger in his windscreen. He can see the bombers now, individual aircraft painted with red Hinamaru circles, rising sun insignia. He keys the radio one last time. Tower, tell my wife something for me. Cordell, do not. Tell her I kept my promise. Silence. Tell her I'll see her again. He releases the radio button, reaches for the gun trigger. His finger rests on it, gentle, like touching Vivienne's face. The Japanese formation fills his windscreen. 800 yards, 700, 600. He can see the details now. The fabric covering on the Sally bombers, the rivets in the aluminum skin, the gun turrets, the enemy gunners inside still looking forward, unaware that death is diving out of the sun at 390 miles per hour, 500 yards. His heart rate is 140 beats per minute. His breathing is controlled, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The way they taught him in flight school. Stay calm, stay focused. Fear is useful. Panic kills. 400 yards. He's not afraid of dying. He's afraid of failing. 300 yards. Nate opens fire. 6 hours earlier. Darkness. 3:30 in the morning. Nate wakes to the sound of wind hammering the barracks wall. The temperature inside is 40 degrees. Outside, -15. The oil stove in the corner rattles, barely keeping the space above freezing. He doesn't move for a moment, lies there in his bunk, wool blanket pulled to his chin, staring at the wooden slats above him, counting them. 47 slats. He's counted them every morning for 6 months since he arrived at Adak Island, since he started flying missions over the Aleutians. 43 missions completed. 7 more to go, then rotation back to Seattle, back to Vivian, back to a life where the sky doesn't try to kill you every time you take off. He sits up. His breath fogs in the cold. Feet hit the floor, boots already on. He sleeps in his flight suit now. Everyone does. When the alarm sounds, you have 8 minutes to get airborne. No time for dressing. Across the room, Lieutenant Garrett Thornhill snores. Loud, rhythmic, like a freight train. The man can sleep through anything. Incoming artillery, blizzards, the end of the world. Nate envies that. He hasn't slept well in 3 months. Not since the first telegram arrived from Vivian, the good one. I have news. Stop! You're going to be a father. Stop! I love you. Stop! Be safe. Stop! That telegram lives in his pocket, folded, refolded, edges soft from handling. He reads it every night before sleep, every morning after waking, a talisman, a promise, a reason to survive 50 missions instead of dying on number 44. Nate pulls on his leather jacket, steps outside. The wind hits him like a fist. -15 feels like -40 with wind chill. The sky is black. No moon, no stars, just darkness and snow and the distant sound of waves crashing against rocks. He walks toward the flight line. His plane is there, waiting, a Curtiss P-40N Warhawk, painted olive drab with a white number 44 on the fuselage. Everett named her Lucky Bell. Said every plane needs a name, said it brings good fortune. Nate doesn't believe in fortune. He believes in maintenance, in pre-flight checks, in oil pressure and manifold temperature and tire inflation, things you can measure, control, trust. As he approaches, a flashlight beam cuts through the darkness. Everett Calloway, standing under Lucky Bell's wing, already at work, always at work, The man never seems to sleep. "Morning, Lieutenant." Everett's voice is rough. Midwestern, Missouri accent. 35 years old but looks 50. Gray hair, deep lines around his eyes, hands permanently stained with engine oil. "Morning, Sergeant." Nate climbs up on the wing, looks into the cockpit. Everything is perfect. Everett's standard, instruments clean, harness adjusted, canopy polished. The man treats this aircraft like it's precious, like it matters. "She's ready," Everett says. "Check the coolant system twice. Oil pressure's good, ammunition loaded, full fuel tanks." Nate nods. He trusts Everett more than he trusts himself. The man has kept this plane flying for 6 months. Through combat damage, mechanical failures, impossible conditions. If Everett says Lucky Bell is ready, she's ready. "How's your family?" Nate asks. Everett pulls a photograph from his pocket. 3 girls, ages 6, 8, and 10, smiling, gap-toothed, wearing Sunday dresses. "Margaret sent this last week. The girls made honor roll, all 3 of them." Pride in his voice, pure and uncomplicated, the pride of a father who loves his daughters more than his own life. "You'll see them soon," Nate says. Everett looks at him. Something in his eyes. Worry, maybe, or recognition. "You got a telegram this morning," Everett says quietly. Nate stiffens. "How did you—" "Radio operator is my cousin, he told me. Didn't say what it said, just that it came from Seattle." The wind howls. Snow swirls around them. "My wife is pregnant," Nate says. 3 months. Everett's face softens. "Congratulations, Lieutenant." "There are complications." The words hang in the frozen air. "She needs me there." Everett doesn't respond immediately. He looks at Lucky Bell, runs his hand along the fuselage, checking for ice, for damage, for anything that might fail. "This bird will keep you flying," he finally says. "I swear it. I've put everything I know into her, every trick, every hour. She'll bring you through." Nate wants to believe him. Wants to believe that metal and oil and spark plugs are enough, that mechanics can defeat fate. "Thank you, Sergeant." They stand there in the darkness, 2 men, both fathers, both far from their families, both praying to machines to keep them alive. At 8 o'clock, the sun rises, sort of. In Alaska in December, sunrise is a relative term. The sky shifts from black to gray, the darkness retreats but never fully leaves. Twilight all day, night pressing close. Nate sits in the mess hall, drinking coffee that tastes like diesel fuel, eating scrambled eggs that have been powdered and reconstituted and somehow made worse in the process. Around him, other pilots eat in silence. No one talks much in the morning. Speech requires energy. Energy requires hope. Garrett Thornhill sits across from him, 28 years old, from Virginia. Tall, blonde, movie star handsome. The kind of man who looks like he belongs in a recruiting poster. Before the war, he flew crop dusters. Now, he flies P-40s. Life is strange that way. "Heard you got news," Garrett says. "Word travels fast on a small base." "Yeah." Good news or bad news? Nate considers this. "Both." Garrett waits, doesn't push. That's one of the things Nate likes about him. The man knows when to shut up. "I'm going to be a father." Garrett grins, wide, genuine. "Well, hell, Nate, that's wonderful. My wife has complications. She needs me there." The grin fades. "How many missions you got left?" 7. Garrett nods slowly, does the math. 7 missions. 1 mission every 2 days, 14 days, 2 weeks. "You'll make it," Garrett says, but there's doubt in his voice. They both know the statistics. 1 in 4 pilots don't complete their rotation. Mechanical failure, enemy fire, weather, the Aleutians kill in 100 different ways. At 8:45, Major Augustus Cross enters the mess hall. Tall, lean, 45 years old, gray temples, Bronze Star ribbon on his chest, a man who has seen too much and forgotten how to smile. "Briefing in 5 minutes, he announces. "All pilots." The room empties. Nate and Garrett follow the others to the briefing room. A cramped space, folding chairs, a blackboard, maps tacked to the walls, the Aleutian Islands drawn in white chalk, a deck marked with a red X. Major Cross stands at the front, doesn't wait for everyone to sit. Intelligence reports increased Japanese activity from the Kuril Islands. Reconnaissance observed multiple aircraft staging at Paramushir. We assess a high probability of attack within the next 48 hours. He points to the map, traces a line from the Kurils to Adak. Primary target this base. Secondary targets supply dumps at Atu and Amchitka. If they hit us here, we lose our forward resupply capability for the entire Aleutian chain. Silence in the room. Current defensive posture inadequate. We have 8 operational P-40s, no anti-aircraft batteries, limited radar coverage. If they come in force, we're vulnerable. More silence. Orders from 11th Air Force maintain combat air patrol at all times. Minimum 2 aircraft. If enemy contact exceeds 20 aircraft, do not engage. Shadow and report. Wait for reinforcements from Jorhat. He looks around the room, makes eye contact with each pilot. Gentlemen, I need to be clear about this. If you see a large formation, you run. You do not play hero. You do not engage. You come back here. You live to fight another day. Is that understood? A chorus of yes, sir fills the room. Cross's gaze lands on Nate, holds there. Cordell, you're on morning patrol, solo, takeoff at 09:15, patrol sector Charlie, 2-hour duration. Any questions? Nate shakes his head. Dismissed. The pilots file out. Nate stays behind, approaches Major Cross. Sir, I received a telegram this morning from my wife. There are medical complications with her pregnancy. I'm requesting emergency leave to... Cross holds up a hand. Request approved. I'll process the paperwork today. You'll rotate back after you complete 50 missions, 7 more flights. Relief floods through Nate. Thank you, sir. Cross's expression softens slightly. I have 3 daughters, Cordell. I understand. You finish your rotation, you go back, you be a father. That's an order. Nate salutes, turns to leave. Cordell. He stops. Today's patrol, by the book. If you see anything, you report and come back. Don't do anything stupid. Yes, sir. But they both know the truth. Stupid is relative. Survival requires stupidity sometimes. At 9:15, Nate climbs into Lucky Bell's cockpit. Straps in, 5-point harness, tight across chest and lap. The seat is hard, uncomfortable. Designed for function, not comfort. He runs through the pre-flight checklist. Fuel selector main tanks. Mixture full rich, propeller full increase. Throttle 1 inch open, magnetos both. Battery on. His hand moves to the starter switch. Pauses. He pulls out Vivian's photograph, looks at it, her smile, her eyes, the way she tilts her head when she's happy. He's 23 years old. Farm boy from Iowa. Learned to fly in a Piper Cub. Joined the Army Air Corps after Pearl Harbor. Wanted to do something, be something, make a difference. Now he just wants to go back. He presses the starter. The Allison engine coughs, sputters, catches. 1,240 horsepower roaring to life. The propeller spins, the aircraft shakes, instruments come alive, oil pressure climbing, coolant temperature rising. Everett stands on the wing, gives a thumbs up. Nate returns it. The crew chief drops off the wing, pulls the chocks from the wheels, steps back, salutes. Nate salutes back. He taxis to the runway. Wind buffets the aircraft. Snow streaks across the windscreen. Visibility maybe 2 miles. Not great, not terrible. Tower radio crackles. Eagle 4-4, you are cleared for takeoff. Winds 270 at 25 knots. Altimeter 299er5. Fly safe. Roger Tower. Nate pushes the throttle forward, full power. The engine screams. 54 inches of manifold pressure, 2,900 RPM. Lucky Bell surges forward, tail comes up. Airspeed builds, 60 knots, 80, 100. The runway blurs. At 120 knots, he pulls back on the stick. The nose lifts, the main wheels leave the ground, and suddenly he's flying, climbing through gray sky. leaving the Earth behind, entering a world of clouds and wind and isolation. This is what he loves, this moment, when the ground falls away and nothing exists except altitude and airspeed and the steady rhythm of the engine. No telegrams, no worry, no fear, just flight. He levels off at 12,000 feet. Above the cloud layer, the sun breaks through, pale, distant, but real. He sets course for Patrol Sector Charlie, heading 090 east, toward the Kurils, toward Japan, toward whatever is coming. The radio is quiet, nothing but static, background hiss, white noise. Nate scans the horizon, empty sky, no contacts, no movement, just him and Lucky Bell in the endless gray. Minutes pass. 5, 10, 15. At 9:25, the radio crackles, different this time, urgent. All aircraft, this is ADAC Tower. We have multiple radar contacts, bearing 270, range 30 miles, estimate 60 plus aircraft. All aircraft return to base immediately. Repeat, return to base. Nate's blood turns cold. 60 plus aircraft. He looks west toward bearing 270, sees nothing, still clear, then the clouds part. And the sky turns black. Not clouds, not weather, aircraft, dozens of them, hundreds of them, a formation so large it blots out the horizon, bombers in tight Vs, fighters swarming above and below like angry hornets, all of them bearing directly toward Adak Island. Nate counts, loses count, counts again, 64, 24 bombers, 40 fighters, 3 miles away, closing at 240 miles per hour. His radio crackles. Major Cross's voice, strained, controlled. Eagle 4-4, confirm visual. Nate's hand shakes as he keys the transmit button. Tower Eagle 4-4, I confirm. 6-4 aircraft, 2-4 bombers, 40 fighters bearing direct for Adak, 3 miles out. Silence. Then, Eagle 4-4, return to base immediately. Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage. Reinforcements inbound. ETA 35 minutes. 35 minutes. Nate looks down. Below the enemy formation, he can see Adak Island, the runway, the buildings, the transports lined up like toys, the hospital marked with a red cross. Somewhere down there, Everett Calloway is working. Unaware that death is 3 minutes away, somewhere in Seattle, Vivian is sleeping. Unaware that her husband is about to make a choice, Nate reaches into his pocket, pulls out the telegram, the new one, the one that arrived this morning. Need you here. Stop. He folds it carefully, puts it back in his pocket. Then he reaches for the throttle, pushes it forward, rolls the aircraft inverted, points the nose at the lead bomber, and dives. The manual says retreat. The manual says live. But Nathaniel Cordell throws out the manual, because some promises are more important than orders, and some fights are worth dying for, even when the odds are 64-1. The dive is beautiful. That's what Nate thinks in the half second before everything becomes violence. There's beauty in the mathematics of it. Angle of descent, rate of closure, energy management, physics stripped down to its essence, mass and velocity and the inevitability of collision, 390 miles per hour, 4,000 feet of altitude converting to kinetic energy. Lucky Bell screams. The airframe shudders. Metal flexing under stress it was never designed to endure. The Allison engine howls at full power. Manifold pressure redlined, temperature climbing. Through the windscreen, the Japanese formation grows. Individual bombers resolving from dark shapes into actual aircraft. Mitsubishi Kai-21s, Sally bombers, twin engine, 7-man crew, no armor, no self-sealing fuel tanks. Designed in 1936 when nobody thought about fighter interception, when war was still theoretical. 800 yards. Nate can see details now. The fabric covering stretched over metal frames, the rounded nose, the dorsal gun turret, a gunner inside still facing forward scanning for threats that should come from ahead. Not above, not diving out of the sun at speeds that make thinking impossible. 600 yards. The lead bomber is painted dark green, camouflage for jungle warfare. useless against an Alaskan sky. The red Hinamaru circles on the wings look like targets, like bullseyes painted by someone with a sense of irony. 400 yards. Nate's hand tightens on the control stick. His right thumb rests on the gun trigger. A small button, red, worn smooth by other pilots' thumbs. How many men have pressed this button? How many are still alive? 200 yards. He can see the pilot now. Through the Sally's greenhouse nose, a man, wearing a leather cap, goggles, looking down at instruments, unaware. Seconds from death. Does he have a wife, children? Someone waiting in Japan for a telegram that will never arrive. 100 yards. Nate pushes the thought away. Farm boy logic, Iowa thinking. You don't aim at livestock, you aim at the target, at the machine, at the threat. 50 yards. He presses the trigger. 650 caliber Browning machine guns erupt. Each gun fires 800 rounds per minute. 4,800 rounds total per minute. 80 rounds per second. The recoil shudders through the airframe. The nose wants to rise. Nate fights it. Holds steady. Tracer rounds every fifth bullet, draw lines from Lucky Bell's nose to the bomber's left wing. The effect is immediate and catastrophic. The first rounds miss. Walk left. Then Nate adjusts. Rudder input. Slight right. The tracers converge on the bomber's port engine. Metal sparks. Fabric tears. The Mitsubishi Ha-101 radial engine, 1,400 horsepower of spinning aluminum and steel, disintegrates under the assault. Orange flame erupts from the cowling. Black smoke pours out. The bomber's wing dips. The pilot reflexively banks away. The aircraft to his right breaks formation to avoid collision. Then the one behind, and the one behind that. The perfect V formation, 6 bombers flying in tight coordination, shatters like glass. Nate's burst lasts 2 seconds. 240 rounds total. 40 rounds per gun. His ammunition counter reads 1,560 remaining. He hauls back on the stick. 7 Gs press him into the seat. The horizon spins. Sky becomes ground, becomes sky. His vision narrows, gray edges closing in. Tunnel vision. G-lock threatening. He grunts, forces blood back to his brain, tenses his legs and abdomen. The way they taught him. Stay conscious, pass out and you die. Lucky Bell arcs upward, climbing, bleeding energy, airspeed dropping, 300 miles per hour, 280, 260 behind him. The lead Sally bomber trails fire. The pilot struggles, tries to maintain control, but fire spreads fast on fabric-covered aircraft. The whole wing is burning now. Orange flame against gray sky. The bomber rolls right, enters a spin, no parachutes. The crew rides it down. 7 men, spinning toward the Bering Sea. They hit the water 2 miles east of Adak. The impact is silent from this altitude, just a splash, white foam, then nothing. First blood. Nate rolls level at 14,000 feet. Above the bomber formation, the enemy aircraft are scattering. No longer in tight Vs, individual bombers maneuvering, trying to reform, trying to figure out what just happened. But above the bombers, 40 Oscar fighters are diving, coming for him. They look like angry hornets, sleek, maneuverable. The Nakajima Ki-43 Oscar is one of the finest dogfighters ever built. Lightweight, powerful. A turn radius so tight it can reverse on a P-40 in seconds. Standard doctrine is clear: never turn fight an Oscar. You'll lose every time. But Nate can't extend away. Can't dive for safety, can't run, because if he runs, the bombers reform, complete their attack, drop their ordnance, destroy the base, kill Everett, kill everyone. So he stays, violates doctrine, commits to a fight he cannot win. The first 4 Oscars approach from 10 o'clock high. Loose finger 4 formation, tactical spacing, professional. These aren't rookies, these are veterans, men who have killed before. Men who know what they're doing. Range 800 yards, closing fast. Nate rolls left, pulls the nose up toward them. Head-on pass, closing speed exceeds 600 miles per hour. At that speed, both pilots have less than 2 seconds to aim and fire. 600 yards. The lead Oscar opens fire. Nate sees the muzzle flashes, two 7.7mm machine guns in the nose, smaller caliber than his 50s, but deadly enough. Tracers arc toward him, walking. Nate fires back. 2-second burst. His heavier rounds reach farther, hit harder. He aims for the approaching Oscar's engine cowling. 300 yards. His rounds sparkle off the Oscar's propeller spinner. The Japanese fighter jinks left. Its wingman follows. 100 yards. Both aircraft flash past each other. Nate feels the turbulence. Prop wash. Wind shear. For a fraction of a second, the Japanese pilot is visible. Just a blur. A silhouette. Then gone. Nate reverses hard right. Rolls inverted. Pulls through. Comes around looking for the next threat. Two Oscars diving from above. 12 o'clock high. He shoves the stick forward. -G. His body lifts against the shoulder straps. Dust and debris float upward in the cockpit. The horizon inverts. He's diving now. Building speed. 320, 340. The Oscars follow, but they're lighter. Less wing loading. They decelerate faster in a dive. Can't keep up with Lucky Bell's straight line speed. Nate extends the gap. 400 yards, 600, 800, then pulls out, levels off, scans for the bombers. There, 2 miles east. The Sally formations are attempting to regroup. 3 separate clusters, 6 bombers each, closing back together. Their bomb bay doors are still closed, not yet in attack configuration, still trying to organize. Nate has maybe 90 seconds before they reach drop range over ADAC. He banks hard toward them. Pushes throttle to maximum. The Allison engine responds. Manifold pressure 54 inches, temperature climbing past normal. 230 degrees Fahrenheit, still within limits. But climbing. Behind him, 8 Oscars pursue, but he's faster, creating distance, trading altitude for speed, the old fighter pilot equation. Speed is life. Altitude is life insurance. He lines up on the right-hand bomber formation. 6 Sallies attempting a V. Not quite there yet. Spacing wrong. Wingtip to wingtip too close. Range 400 yards. He opens fire. 2-second burst. Tracers converge on the lead bomber's right engine. The Mitsubishi radial explodes. Literally explodes. The cylinder head separates from the crankcase. Connecting rods fly outward like shrapnel. The propeller tears free, spins away end over end. The bomber's right wing dips. Fire spreads along the wing route. The whole aircraft rolls right, inverted, falling. Inside the Sally navigator, Corporal Hideaki Sato has 3 seconds to understand what's happening. 23 years old, married 3 months ago. His wife Yuki is pregnant, 7 weeks. He doesn't know yet. He won't know, ever. Bail out! The pilot screams in Japanese, but there's no time. The aircraft is inverted, spinning, fire everywhere. Hideaki reaches for the emergency hatch. His fingers touch the handle. Then impact. The Sally hits the Bering Sea at 200 miles per hour. The fuselage crumples like paper. 7 men die instantly. Hideaki Sato's last thought is of Yuki, of their wedding day, of the child he'll never meet. Back in Japan in a small apartment in Yokohama, Yuki wakes from a nightmare, screaming. She doesn't know why. Won't know for 6 weeks. When the telegram arrives, when her world ends. Nate doesn't watch the Sally fall. He's already adjusting, skidding left with rudder, lining up the next target, firing again. His rounds punch through thin aluminum skin, walk up the fuselage. The Ki-21 has no armor, no protection. Rounds that hit keep going, through one side, out the other, through crew stations, through men. The bomber shudders, smoke pours from the cockpit. It breaks formation, diving away, not falling, not yet, but damaged, out of the fight. Third bomber hit, ammo counter 1,080 rounds remaining. Approximately 6 attacks left at current rate of fire. Nate pulls up, climbs, checks 6 o'clock. 12 Oscars now, all converging on him, coming from multiple angles, high, low, flanks. This is what they trained for. What they're good at. Pack tactics. Coordinated assault. One pilot draws the target's attention while others attack from blind spots. But Nate isn't fighting for kills. He's fighting for time. For disruption. For chaos. He doesn't try to engage the Oscars, doesn't dogfight, just uses speed. Boom and zoom, dive, attack bombers, extend, reset, repeat. It's working. The bomber formations are scattered now. Individual aircraft separated by hundreds of yards. No coordination, no bombing accuracy. Even if they drop now, the bombs will be spread across miles of ocean and tundra instead of concentrated on the airfield. Mission disruption accomplished. But Nate doesn't stop. Because the bombers are still flying, still capable. Still a threat. If he disengages, they regroup, complete the attack eventually. He has to keep pressure on them, keep them scattered, keep them afraid, even if it kills him. On the ground. Sergeant Everett Calloway stands on the tarmac, binoculars pressed to his face. He's watching his lieutenant die. That's what he thinks. Watching the impossible. One P-40 circling 64 Japanese aircraft like a sheepdog harrying wolves. Diving in, attacking, pulling away, diving again. Sweet Jesus, Everett whispers. Beside him, Lieutenant Garrett Thornhill sprints toward his own P-40. Number 41 painted on the fuselage. His crew chief is already starting the engine. Black smoke pours from the exhaust stacks. The Allison coughs, catches, roars. Major Cross's voice booms across the flight line. Thornhill, get airborne, provide support, all available aircraft, scramble now. But scrambling takes time. Cold engines need warming. Systems need checking. Even in an emergency, you can't rush certain things. Rush and you crash on takeoff. Die before you even reach the fight. Garrett climbs into his cockpit, straps in. His hands move through the checklist, fast but not frantic. Muscle memory, magnetos, mixture, throttle, battery. Everett watches through his binoculars, watches Nate dive again. Watches tracers stream from Lucky Bell's nose, watches another bomber catch fire. Bring her back, kid, Everett mutters. I swore you'd get through, just bring her back. His hands shake, not from cold, from helplessness. He's a mechanic, a crew chief. He fixes planes, makes them fly, but once they leave the ground, he can't help, can't protect, can only watch and pray and count the seconds. Lucky Bell is 3 miles away, a tiny speck against gray sky. Everett knows that speck intimately. Every rivet, every weld, every replaced gasket and torqued bolt. He's put 6 months of work into that aircraft, 6 months of 16-hour days and frozen fingers and desperate repairs in blizzard conditions. That plane is his, more than the Army's, more than Nate's even, and he'll be damned if he lets her die today. Sir, Everett shouts toward Major Cross, permission to arm the emergency reserve P-40. Cross looks at him. Calloway, that bird hasn't flown in 3 weeks. Engine suspect. Hydraulics are questionable. Then let me check her now, Sir. Cordell needs backup. Cross hesitates. Nods. Do it. Fast. Everett runs toward the maintenance hangar. Toward the reserve aircraft, number 37, a tired bird, worn out but flyable. Maybe he'll make her flyable, because that's what crew chiefs do, make impossible things possible, keep broken machines running, defy entropy through sheer will and technical knowledge. 3 miles east. Lieutenant Takeshi Yamamoto flies his Oscar in a wide circle watching the American pilot work. Yamamoto is 26 years old, an ace, 11 confirmed kills. He has shot down P-40s before, Brewster Buffaloes, even a B-17 once when the bomber was damaged and alone. But he has never seen anything like this. One pilot, one aircraft attacking a formation 64 strong. Insane, his wingman says over the radio in Japanese. The American shouldn't understand, but somehow Yamamoto feels like he does. No, Yamamoto replies. Not insane, brave. Should we shoot him down? Yamamoto watches the P-40 dive again, watches it kill another bomber. Fourth now, 4 bombers destroyed by 1 man. The American is violating every tactical principle. Outnumbered, outmaneuvered, should be dead already. But he's not engaging the Oscars, not fighting them, ignoring them entirely, focused only on the bombers, disrupting the attack. He's not trying to survive. He's trying to buy time. No, Yamamoto says. Let him fight. I want to see what he does. His wingman protests. But the bombers are scattering. The attack is failing. 1 American pilot is defeating our entire formation. Do you understand what that means? Silence on the radio. It means... Yamamoto continues that we are witnessing something remarkable, something that will be told as a story, and I would rather witness it than end it. This is not mercy. Yamamoto is not a merciful man. He has killed too many times for mercy, but he understands something deeper. Courage deserves respect even when it comes from an enemy. Nate's engine temperature gauge climbs past 260 degrees. Normal operating temperature is 210. At 250, the coolant starts boiling. At 260, components begin failing. He's been running at full power for 11 minutes. The Allison V-1710 was designed for short bursts of combat power. 5 minutes, maybe 10. Not sustained operation at maximum settings. The engine is cooking itself. Nate feels the vibration through the control stick. Rough running. Detonation in the cylinders. Pre-ignition from excessive heat. The propeller is still spinning. The plane is still flying. But something is wrong. Something is failing. He glances at the coolant temperature gauge. Beyond the red line now. Beyond measurement. The numbers stop at 300. The needle is pegged there. Could be 300, could be 400, no way to know. He could reduce power, pull back the throttle, let the engine cool, extend his survival by precious minutes. But reducing power means losing speed. Losing speed means the Oscars catch him. And if they catch him, they kill him. More importantly, reducing power means losing aggression, losing the initiative, giving the bombers time to reform. Nate makes the choice instantly, keeps the throttle forward against the manual, against reason, against survival instinct. He dives toward the remaining bomber formation, the third group. 6 Sallies attempting to close ranks, almost succeeding, range 600 yards. 8 Oscars dive on him simultaneously, coordinated attack from multiple vectors. This time they're not testing, not observing, they're committing. Tracers stream past Lucky Bell's canopy. 7.7 millimeter rounds. Dozens of them. Most miss. Most, but not all. Nate feels the impacts. Hears them. Metal hitting metal. Fabric tearing. 3 rounds punch through his right wing. The wing structure shudders, doesn't fail, not yet, but weakened. Compromised. 1 round hits his right aileron control rod. The rod that connects the control stick to the aileron itself. The rod bends, doesn't break, but the aileron response changes, goes mushy. Nate needs more right stick pressure to maintain level flight. The aircraft is dying, slowly, but dying. Another burst walks up his fuselage. Sparks dance along the aluminum skin. Most rounds glance off, deflect, but one penetrates. Punches through the firewall behind the engine, into the coolant reservoir. Green liquid sprays across the windscreen. Glycol-based coolant, the lifeblood of the Allison's cooling system. Without it, the engine overheats in minutes, seconds even. Steam erupts from the cowling seams, white, hot, billowing back over the canopy. Oil pressure drops, 60 pounds per square inch, 50-40. The Allison runs on oil pressure, needs it to lubricate connecting rods, crankshaft, camshaft. Without oil pressure, metal grinds against metal. Friction generates heat. Heat causes expansion. Parts seize. Nate has minutes, maybe less, but he's close enough for one more attack. Range 400 yards. He opens fire. Holds the trigger. 2 seconds. 3. Ammunition counter spinning down. 1,080 rounds, 940, 800. His tracers converge on the lead Sally bomber. Walk from tail to nose, through the fuselage, through the cockpit, through the greenhouse nose. The bomber's right wing explodes, not catches fire, explodes. The wing structure fails catastrophically. The outer panel folds upward, tears away from the fuselage. 20 feet of wing tumbling through the air. The Sally rolls inverted, enters an uncontrolled spin. No recovery possible, no parachutes deploy. The crew 7 men ride it into the ocean. 4th bomber destroyed. The remaining bombers break completely, no formation left. Individual aircraft fleeing, heading east, back toward the Kurils, back toward Japan. Mission accomplished. The bombing run is broken. Adak is safe. Now Nate just has to survive. He banks southwest, heading 220 degrees, toward home, toward the base. 43 miles away, his coolant temperature gauge is meaningless now. The needle has melted somewhere past 300. The engine is running beyond all design parameters, beyond all mechanical logic. Oil pressure 20 pounds per square inch, dropping. Engine vibration severe, distance to base 43 miles, approximately 15 minutes of flight time. If the engine holds, it won't hold. Nate knows this, knows the math, knows the mechanics. The Allison is dying. Has been dying, is seconds from seizing completely, but he keeps flying. Because what else is there behind him? 6 Oscars follow. Shadowing, matching his course, not attacking, just watching. Yamamoto radios his wingman. Do not fire, let him go. But Lieutenant, that pilot has earned his life. If his machine brings him home, he deserves to live. This is not mercy. This is respect. The respect one warrior gives another. Across nationality, across ideology, across the artificial boundaries that make men kill each other. Yamamoto pulls alongside Nate, close enough to see into the American's cockpit, sees the young face, the determination, the fear underneath the courage. He gestures, points downward, land, surrender, live. The American shakes his head. No, Yamamoto understands. This pilot will fly home or die trying. No middle ground, no surrender. The Japanese ace raises his hand, salutes. The American returns it. Then Yamamoto banks away. His wingmen follow. The 6 Oscars turn east, back toward their carriers, back toward Japan, leaving the American to his fate. Alone now, Nate fights the controls. Altitude 8,000 feet, descending 1,000 feet per minute. Not intentionally. The engine is failing. Power output dropping. Not enough thrust to maintain level flight. Distance to base 35 miles, 12 minutes away. His vision starts to gray, edges going dark, not G-lock this time. Something else. Carbon monoxide. The rounds that hit his fuselage severed control cables, damaged the electrical system, and compromised the firewall seal. Engine exhaust is leaking into the cockpit. Carbon monoxide is colorless, odorless, tasteless, deadly. At low concentrations it causes headache, dizziness, nausea. At high concentrations it causes confusion, loss of consciousness, death. Nate slides the canopy open. Wind blast hits him. 180 miles per hour wind, tears streaming from his eyes, but fresh air, oxygen. The gray edges recede slightly, vision clears slightly. He checks his instruments. Oil pressure 0. Gauge needle on the peg, empty. The engine should have seized by now, should have locked up. Connecting rods welded to the crankshaft. Pistons fused in cylinders. But it's still running. Rough, violent, making sounds no engine should make. Grinding, clanking, the sound of metal destroying itself, still running on momentum, on friction, on whatever microscopic oil film remains on internal components. Still running because Everett Calloway built it right, maintained it right, loved it right. The engine is dying for Nate, giving everything it has, every last revolution, every last horsepower. Altitude 6,000 feet, still descending, distance 22 miles, smoke begins filling the cockpit. Not exhaust, electrical fire, wiring behind the instrument panel burning. The rounds that severed cables also damaged insulation, exposed wires shorting against metal framework. The smoke burns Nate's eyes, his throat. He coughs, leans out of the cockpit into the slipstream, gasping. Airspeed drops, 160 miles per hour. P-40 stall speed is 120. He's losing the margin between flight and falling. Altitude 4,000 feet. Distance 15 miles, 8 minutes. If he can hold on, if the engine keeps running, if the aircraft stays together. 3 big ifs. Then fire erupts from the engine cowling. Orange flame licking back along the fuselage, drawn by airflow, spreading toward the cockpit, toward the fuel tanks. Fire in an aircraft is not like fire on the ground. There's no escape, no exit, no running away. You're strapped in, locked in, burning. Standard procedure for engine fire: immediate shutdown. Pull mixture control to idle cutoff. Starve the engine. Stop the fire. Then bail out. But Nate's altitude is only 4,000 feet, descending rapidly, and he's 12 miles from friendly territory, over tundra where Japanese patrols operate, where capture means interrogation, torture, execution. He chooses fire. Pulls the mixture control back to idle cutoff. 3 seconds, starving the engine of fuel. The flames decrease, intensity drops, then pushes the mixture forward again. The engine coughs, sputters, nearly quits, catches, continues running. Power output 60% of normal. Barely enough to maintain altitude, not enough to climb, but enough to keep flying. Altitude 3,500 feet, level now. Not descending. Distance 12 miles, 6 minutes. Nate talks to himself, out loud, fighting the carbon monoxide poisoning, fighting unconsciousness. Vivian, baby, I'll see you again. Just a little longer. Just stay awake. Stay focused. He pictures her face, her smile, the photograph, Pike Place Market, sun in her hair. I swore, I'm keeping my word. His father's voice in his head now. Iowa farm, teaching him to drive the tractor when he was 12, the steering wheel fighting him, the old man's calloused hand on his shoulder. When something fights you, son, sometimes you got to work with it, not against it. Machine's telling you something. Listen. Altitude 3,000 feet, descending again. Power failing. Distance 8 miles, 4 minutes. His right aileron control cable, the one damaged earlier, is fraying. The bend in the rod is causing stress, metal fatigue. Microscopic cracks propagating. Any second now, it will snap. Altitude 2,000 feet, distance 5 miles, 3 minutes. Through the smoke and tears, Nate sees a DAC. The island, the runway, the building's home. So close, then his right aileron cable snaps. The sound is metallic, sharp, final, like a gunshot inside the airframe. The aileron flops to full deflection, free-floating, no longer controlled. Lucky Bell rolls right, hard, violently. The right wing drops, the nose follows, diving. Nate hauls back on the control stick with both hands, pulling, straining. Nothing happens. The elevator cables are damaged too. Battle damage. Severed somewhere in the tail. He has no pitch control. The nose stays down. Airspeed increases. 200 miles per hour, 220, 250. The aircraft is diving. Uncontrolled, accelerating toward the ground, altitude 1,800 feet, 1,500, 1,200. The tundra rushes up. Brown, frozen, unforgiving. He's going to crash after everything, after defeating 64 aircraft, after saving the base, after keeping his promise. He's going to die 4 miles from home, altitude 1,000 feet, airspeed 280 miles per hour, 10 seconds until impact. Nathaniel Cordell does not close his eyes, does not pray, does not give up. His mind races, analyzing, calculating. The damaged aileron is forcing the right wing down. The damaged elevator is stuck nose down. Gravity and aerodynamics are pulling the aircraft into a terminal dive. Farm boy thinking, Iowa logic, his father's voice again. Working on the tractor, the hydraulics failing, stuck in one position. Can't fix it normally, then use it abnormally. Make the broken part work for you. The damaged aileron forces right wing down, when upright. So inverted it would force right wing up. The damaged elevator pushes tail up when upright. So inverted it would push tail down, nose up. Flying upside down reverses everything. The damage killing him right side up might save him inverted. Altitude 800 feet, 6 seconds until impact. Nathaniel Cordell rolls completely inverted at 800 feet above the frozen tundra. The world flips, sky becomes ground, ground becomes sky. -1G presses him against his shoulder straps, blood rushes to his head, vision turns red around the edges. The P-40's fuel system designed for positive G loads struggles. Fuel flow decreases, the engine coughs, sputters, nearly quits, but the nose comes up. The descent slows, altitude 600 feet, still descending, but slower now. 400 feet per minute instead of 1,000. The aircraft levels out at 400 feet, flying upside down at 140 miles per hour. Impossible, but happening. Nate holds the inverted attitude, blood pooling in his head, his vision going crimson. 40 seconds. The engine runs rough but runs. His airspeed increases slightly. 160, he's climbing. 50 feet per minute while flying inverted, going up while flying upside down. Then the fuel starvation problem returns, gravity pulling fuel away from the engine's pickup. The Allison cuts out, power drops to 0, he has to roll upright. Immediately, the damaged controls push the nose down, the aircraft descends, 600 feet per minute. But now fuel feeds properly. The engine catches, runs rough, produces power. Nate understands the pattern now. Inverted climbs slowly, but fuel starves after 35 seconds. Upright descend, but fuel feeds properly. He can't do both simultaneously, so he alternates. Farm boy practical thinking. When the plow's broken and you can't fix it, you work around it. You adapt. You use what's broken as a tool, inverted to climb, upright to feed fuel, flip, climb, flip, descend, flip, climb, over and over. A dance with gravity and aerodynamics and mechanical failure, a dance no pilot has ever attempted, a dance that violates every principle of flight, and somehow impossibly it works. On the ground. Sergeant Thaddeus Beckett stares through the sights of his .50 caliber machine gun and tries to understand what he's seeing. An aircraft, approaching from the east, inverted, landing gear down, smoke pouring from the engine, flying in a pattern that makes no sense, upside down, right side up, upside down again, like a wounded bird that forgot how wings work. "What in the hell?" Thaddeus mutters. He's 30 years old, from Kentucky. Coal miner before the war, joined the army because mining kills you slow and at least war pays better. Been manning this gun emplacement for 6 months. Shot at exactly 0 enemy aircraft. Most boring job in Alaska until now. The aircraft is 3 miles out, still flying that impossible pattern. Inverted for 40 seconds. Upright for 40 seconds. Gaining altitude in tiny increments. 50 feet, 100 feet. Like climbing stairs made of air. Thaddeus adjusts the 50 cal's elevation. Tracks the target. His finger rests on the trigger. 14 pounds of pressure and this gun sends 700 rounds per minute downrange, enough to cut an aircraft in half. Major Cross's voice crackles over the field telephone. "All defensive positions, we have an aircraft inbound. Identity unknown. Possibly captured American equipment. Hold fire until positive identification. Repeat, hold fire." Possibly captured. That makes sense. Japanese forces captured P-40s in the Philippines and Burma, flew them back to Japan, studied them, sometimes flew them in combat against their former owners. An inverted P-40 with gear down approaching an American base could be a captured aircraft, could be a pilot who doesn't know how to fly it properly. Could be an attack. Thaddeus keeps the gun trained, waiting for orders, waiting for certainty. But certainty is rare in war. In the control tower, Airman First Class Daniel Morrison presses binoculars to his face. 20 years old, on duty for 14 hours, hasn't slept in 36. He watches Lucky Bell approach, inverted, upright, inverted again. Tower, should I call an ambulance? He stammers into the radio. Major Cross stands beside him, watches through his own binoculars, sees the number 44 on the fuselage, sees the American markings, sees the smoke, the damage, the impossible flying. Call 10 ambulances, Cross says quietly, and a priest and maybe a miracle. 2 miles out, Nate completes his 7th flip cycle. Inverted at 1,000 feet, blood pooling in his head, vision tinged red, the shoulder straps cutting into his shoulders, every muscle tensed against negative G-forces. Fuel starves after 35 seconds. The engine quits. Propeller windmills uselessly, he rolls upright. The damaged aileron immediately forces the right wing down. The damaged elevator pushes the nose down. The aircraft enters a descent, but fuel feeds. The engine coughs, catches, runs rough but runs. Power returns, 60% of normal, just enough. He's gained 200 feet, net positive. 2 miles from the runway, altitude 1,200 feet, enough to make it, barely. His vision is fading. Not from G-forces, from carbon monoxide poisoning. The gray edges are back, closing in, tunnel vision. His hands feel distant, disconnected, like they belong to someone else. He talks to himself, slurring now, words thick. Vivian, baby, Ian. Almost there. Almost with you again. His engine temperature gauge is meaningless. The needle melted off minutes ago. Just a blank face where numbers used to be. The engine is running on faith, on momentum, on Everett Callaway's 6 months of perfect maintenance. Oil pressure still 0. Has been 0 for 9 minutes. Physically impossible. Connecting rods should have welded. Pistons should have seized. Crankshaft should have stopped. But the engine keeps turning, keeps spinning, keeps producing power, as if it knows, as if metal and oil and fire can understand duty, can choose to survive, can refuse to quit, 1 mile out. Nate flies inverted one last time, climbs to 1,500 feet, high enough for the approach, high enough to survive if the engine quits. He rolls upright. The damaged controls fight him. Right wing drops, nose drops. He counters with aileron and elevator. The responses are mushy, delayed, but enough to fly. The runway is ahead. 5,500 feet of packed gravel, marked with white stones. The most beautiful thing Nate has ever seen. But he faces a new problem. Landing. The P-40's landing gear is hydraulic, operated by an engine-driven pump. With the engine producing minimal power, the hydraulic system has almost no pressure. His gear is down, extended earlier through sheer luck and manual pumping. But his flaps are hydraulic too, and flaps require full system pressure. No flaps means high landing speed, 120 miles per hour instead of 90. That means longer landing roll, more runway needed. ADAC's runway is 5,500 feet. A flapless landing in a damaged aircraft requires at least 4,000. Possible. If everything goes right. Nothing has gone right for 15 minutes. Nate lines up on final approach, heading 190, winds gusting from the west, 25 knots, crosswind component 15 knots, pushing him right. He counters with left aileron. The damage control barely responds, half a mile out. His engine quits completely, no warning, no cough, no sputter, just silence. The propeller windmills to a stop, frozen, dead, no power, no thrust. The P-40 is a glider now, a very poor glider. Nate's glide ratio, normally 8-to-1, is worse with battle damage, maybe 6-to-1. From 1,500 feet, he can glide about 1.5 miles. The runway is half a mile away. Math says he'll make it. But math doesn't account for wind, for damaged flight controls, for a pilot suffering carbon monoxide poisoning and physical exhaustion. Nate holds the approach, 90 knots, nose slightly high, trading speed for distance. Every knot of airspeed equals seconds in the air. Seconds equal feet traveled. Feet equals survival. Quarter mile out. Altitude 800 feet, too high. He's going to overshoot, land long, run off the far end of the runway into tundra. He needs to descend faster. Normally he'd use flaps. Increase drag, steepen the approach, but no flaps, no power, just gravity and lift in the equation between them. Nate slips the aircraft, crosses the controls. Left rudder, right aileron. The aircraft slides sideways through the air. Inefficient, draggy, exactly what he needs. Descent rate increases, 600 feet per minute, 700, 800. The runway threshold approaches, the white stones marking the edge. The numbers painted in fading white 19, 200 feet altitude, too high still. Nate increases the slip, more rudder, more aileron. The damaged controls scream in protest, metal grinding, cables fraying, everything on the edge of complete failure. 100 feet in the tower, Major Cross watches through binoculars, watches Lucky Bell approach in a violent side slip. Smoke pouring from the engine, gear down but damaged. The right main gear strut is bent, hydraulic fluid streaming. That gear won't hold. He's not going to make it. Someone says. Cross doesn't respond, doesn't take the binoculars from his face. Watches, bears witness. That's all he can do. In the gun emplacement, Thaddeus Beckett sees the P-40 clearly now, sees the number 44 on the fuselage, sees the American markings, but also sees the inverted approach, the violent slip, the smoke, everything wrong, everything impossible. His finger tightens on the trigger. 3 pounds of pressure. 4. The gun is live. Ready. One decision away from firing. "Sir!" Thaddeus calls into the field telephone. "I need confirmation. That aircraft is flying wrong. Could be enemy." Major Cross's voice. "Hold fire, that's Lieutenant Cordell. Do not fire." "Sir, no American pilot flies like that." "I said hold fire, that's an order." Thaddeus lifts his finger, half an inch. Enough. The gun stays silent, but aimed, tracking, just in case. 50 feet above the runway, Nate kicks out of the slip. Rudder neutral. Ailerons neutral. Or as neutral as damaged controls allow. The aircraft straightens, lines up with the center line. Too fast. 130 miles per hour. Stall speed is 120, 10 knots too fast, but no choice, no power to go around. This is it, one chance, 40 feet, the runway rushes up, gravel and dirt and ice patches, imperfect, unforgiving. 30 feet, Nate pulls back on the stick, gently, flaring, trading speed for lift, trying to bleed off the excess velocity before touchdown. 20 feet, airspeed 125, still too fast. 10 feet, he holds the stick back, waiting for the wheels to touch. For gravity to win. 5 feet. Lucky Bell drops the last 5 feet in half a second. No gradual touchdown, just falls. The main wheels hit the gravel runway at 7 Gs. The impact is catastrophic. The left main gear holds, compressed fully. Shock strut bottoming out, but intact. The right main gear bent, damaged, leaking hydraulic fluid collapses. The strut folds. The wheel assembly tears away. The right wing drops. The wingtip hits the runway. Metal screeches against gravel. Sparks fly, orange, bright, beautiful in their violence. Lucky Bell ground loops. The aircraft spins right, 180 degrees, sliding backward now. Tail forward, nose behind, everything wrong, everything broken. 200 feet of sliding. The tail wheel digs in, acts as a pivot. The spin tightens, 360 degrees, a complete rotation, then slows, friction winning, speed bleeding away. The aircraft stops 50 feet from the runway's edge, 50 feet from soft tundra that would have flipped the plane, killed the pilot, 50 feet from death. Silence. Smoke billows from the engine compartment, black, thick, toxic. The engine is destroyed, completely, catastrophically. Pistons seized, cylinders scored, crankshaft warped, connecting rods welded. The aircraft will never fly again, but Nathaniel Cordell is alive. For 12 seconds he doesn't move, sits in the cockpit, hands still on the controls, shoulder straps still tight across his chest, staring through the oil-streaked windscreen at nothing. Then his hands start shaking. Not tremors, convulsions, his entire body shaking. Adrenaline crash, shock. The physiological aftermath of 15 minutes that should have killed him 20 different ways. He releases the shoulder straps. The buckle is slick with sweat. His flight suit is soaked through. Not from coolant or hydraulic fluid, from fear, from effort, from staying alive through willpower alone. Nate stands, legs weak, uncertain, climbs out onto the wing. The metal is hot, scorched from engine fire. His boots find purchase. He slides down. Feet hit solid ground. Earth, real earth, not air, not altitude, not the abstract space between living and dying. His legs buckle. Sergeant Everett Calloway catches him. The crew chief was running before Lucky Bell stopped, sprinted across the tarmac, reached Nate as he collapsed. 35 years old, father of 3, catches a 23-year-old lieutenant like he's catching his own son. "I got you, sir, I got you." Nate's weight sags against Everett. Dead weight. Exhausted, poisoned, spent. "Did I?" Nate's voice is hoarse, damaged from smoke inhalation. "Did I save them?" Everett looks at the base, the 14 C-47 transports untouched, the hospital intact, the fuel dumps undamaged, not a single bomb crater, not a single fire, 0 casualties. "Yeah, son, you saved them, you saved us all." Nate nods once, then his eyes close, his body goes limp. Everett lowers him to the ground gently, like putting a child to bed. Fire crews arrive, medics with a stretcher. They load Nate carefully, check his pulse, his breathing, his pupils, on carbon monoxide poisoning, the senior medic says. "Severe. He should be unconscious, should be dead, honestly. But he's alive. He's alive." They carry Nate toward the field hospital. Everett watches them go, then turns to Lucky Bell. His aircraft, his bird, his responsibility. She's destroyed. Right gear collapsed. Right wing damaged beyond repair. Fuselage riddled with bullet holes. Engine ruined. Hydraulics failed. Electrical system burned. Everett walks around her slowly, counting the damage, cataloging the failures, but also the successes, the components that held, the systems that worked past their limits, the welds that didn't crack, the bolts that didn't shear. He counts 16 bullet holes in the fuselage, 7 in the right wing, 4 in the left. Miracle that nothing critical was hit. Miracle that fuel tanks didn't explode. Miracle that control cables lasted as long as they did. He runs his hand along the engine cowling. Hot, scorched. The metal is discolored from extreme heat. Blue, purple. Colors that mean the metal's temper is gone. Its strength compromised. This engine ran for 9 minutes with 0 oil pressure. 3 minutes with coolant temperature beyond measurement. Produced power when power should have been impossible. Everett opens the cowling, looks inside. The Allison V1710 is slag, fused, melted. 3 connecting rods are welded to the crankshaft. Every cylinder shows severe scoring. The oil pan is ruptured, coolant everywhere. "Beautiful," Everett whispers. Lieutenant Garrett Thornhill approaches. He's been in the air, flew combat air patrol while Nate fought alone, saw the whole thing from a distance, watched one P-40 take on 64 aircraft and win. "Everett," Garrett says quietly, "that was your maintenance, your work. You kept that plane flying." Everett shakes his head. "Wasn't me. Wasn't the plane even. That was all Cordell. That was pure will. Metal and oil don't have will. But that kid does. Had enough for both of them." They stand together, looking at the wreckage, at the evidence of violence and survival, at proof that impossible is just a word. 3 days later, Nate wakes in the field hospital. White walls, white sheets, white bandages, everything clean, sterile, the opposite of combat. His throat hurts, his head pounds, his muscles ache like he's been beaten. Carbon monoxide poisoning does that, starves your cells of oxygen, makes everything hurt, but he's alive. A nurse notices he's awake, smiles. "Welcome back, Lieutenant." "How long?" 3 days. You've been in and out, mostly out. Your body needed rest. Nate tries to sit up. The nurse gently pushes him back down. Easy, you're still recovering. Carbon monoxide levels in your blood were critically high. The doctor said you should have been unconscious, possibly brain damaged, but somehow you stayed functional. Somehow. Nate doesn't tell her about the photograph, about Vivian's face in his mind, about talking to himself, about promises made and promises kept. I need to make a phone call, Nate says. The nurse hesitates. The doctor said, I need to call my wife, please. Something in his voice. Urgency, desperation. The nurse nods. I'll see what I can do. 2 hours later, they wheel Nate to the communications building. Military phone. Patched through multiple operators. Seattle is 4 time zones away, 3,000 miles, might as well be the moon, but the call connects, ringing, once, twice, 3 times. Hello, Vivian's voice. Tired, worried, beautiful. Vivi, it's me. Silence. Then a sob. Choked. Released. Nate, oh God, Nate, they told me you were missing. They said your plane didn't return. They said, I'm okay, I'm here, I'm coming back to you. She's crying. Full sobs now, relief and fear and love tangled together. What happened up there? Nate closes his eyes, sees the formation, 64 aircraft, sees the dive, the fire, the dance with death, the impossible landing. I flew upside down. Vivian laughs through tears. That's the craziest thing you've ever said. I know, but it's true. I'll tell you everything when I see you, I promise. How are you? How's the baby? We're okay. The doctor said the complications are manageable, but I need you here. We need you. I'm coming. 7 more missions, then I'm done, then I'm there with you. But he knows in his bones, knows with certainty that cannot be argued. He's not flying 7 more missions. He's done. Major Cross confirms it the next day, visits Nate in the hospital. Sits in the uncomfortable metal chair beside the bed. Lieutenant Cordell, how are you feeling? Like I got kicked by a horse, sir. Cross almost smiles. The doctors say you'll make a full recovery, no permanent damage. That's remarkable given the carbon monoxide exposure. Yes, sir. Cross looks at his hands, calloused, scarred, the hands of a man who has made difficult decisions. I'm sending you back, Cordell, effective immediately. You've completed your combat tour. Sir, I have 7 missions remaining. No, you have 0 missions remaining. What you did 3 days ago counts as 50 missions. Hell, it counts as 100. 1 pilot against 64 aircraft, 4 confirmed kills. Mission disruption, 0 friendly casualties. That's beyond valor. That's beyond anything I've seen in 20 years of service. Nate doesn't know what to say. You're going back, Lieutenant. That's an order. Be with your wife, be a father, live a long, boring life. You've earned it. Cross stands, extends his hand. Nate shakes it. Thank you, sir. No, Lieutenant, thank you. For saving my men, for saving my base, for showing everyone what courage looks like. January 8th, 1944. 26 days after the mission. Nate stands at attention in the hangar. His dress uniform is crisp, pressed. The silver bars on his shoulders shine. He's gained back the weight he lost. The color has returned to his face. But something in his eyes is different. Older, harder. The entire base is assembled. 300 men standing in formation, silent. Lieutenant General Simon Buckner, commander of Alaska Defense Command, reads the citation. His voice carries across the hangar. The Silver Star is hereby awarded to First Lieutenant Nathaniel Cordell for gallantry in action against enemy forces on December 13, 1943. Lieutenant Cordell, acting alone and against overwhelming odds, engaged and dispersed a formation of 64 enemy aircraft, attacking vital installations. Despite severe aircraft damage and personal injury, he continued his attack, destroying 4 enemy bombers and preventing the destruction of critical supply facilities. His actions resulted in 0 friendly casualties and preserved operational capability essential to the Aleutian campaign. His courage under fire reflects the highest traditions of military service and brings great credit upon himself and the United States Army Air Forces. General Buckner pins the medal to Nate's chest, silver star on blue ribbon with white and red stripes. 5th highest military decoration, 2nd highest for valor. The assembled men applaud, not polite, not ceremonial, real applause, sustained. From men who understand what happened, what it cost, what it saved. But Nate doesn't feel like a hero, doesn't feel like the man in the citation. He feels like someone who got lucky, who survived when he should have died, who made a choice and somehow didn't pay the price. When the applause ends, General Buckner nods, gives Nate permission to speak. Nate steps forward, looks at the assembled men, at faces he knows, friends, brothers, men who would have died if he'd followed the manual. "Thank you, sir, but this medal doesn't belong to me alone." He gestures to Everett Calloway. The crew chief stands in the back, uncomfortable with attention, just a sergeant among officers. "This belongs to Sergeant Calloway, who maintained Lucky Bell so well she flew when she shouldn't have, who kept his word that she'd bring me through." Everett's face reddens. Men around him clap him on the back. "This belongs to Lieutenant Thornhill, who taught me to never quit, who showed me that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to act despite it." Garrett nods, respect in his eyes. "This belongs to Major Cross, who trusted me, who gave me the freedom to make my own choices, even when those choices violated doctrine." Cross stands straighter, pride visible. "And this belongs to every man on this base, every mechanic, every clerk, every cook, every man doing his job far from his family. You're all heroes, you just don't get medals for it." Nate pauses, his voice cracks slightly. "But most of all, this belongs to my wife, Vivian, who gave me a reason to return, who made me believe that tomorrow matters, that promises are worth keeping, that love is stronger than war." He holds the medal up, silver star catching the light. "I wear this, but it's yours, all of yours. Thank you." The applause is deafening now. Men stomping, whistling, cheering, not for the medal, for the words, for the recognition, for being seen. Later, alone in his barracks, Nate writes a letter. His final letter from Alaska. His hand is steady. The words come easily. "Dearest Vivian, I'm coming back. For real this time. No more missions, no more risks, just home. They gave me a medal today. Called me a hero, but I'm not. Heroes are people who do extraordinary things. I just did what anyone would do. Chose love over fear. Chose you over safety. I can't wait to see you, to hold you, to meet our child, to start the life we always planned. The boring life, the beautiful life. I flew upside down for 11 minutes. I'll tell you that story someday. But the truth is, I've been flying toward you my entire life. Every mission, every flight, every heartbeat, I'm coming back, Vivian. And nothing will ever take me away again. Forever yours, Nate." March 1944, Seattle, Washington. Nate walks up the steps of the small house on Queen Anne Hill, his duffel bag over his shoulder, his dress uniform worn from travel. Train from Alaska to Seattle, 57 hours, every minute an eternity. But now he's here. The door opens before he knocks. Vivian stands there, 6 months pregnant, glowing. More beautiful than any photograph, more real than memory. They don't speak. Words aren't enough, aren't necessary. She steps into his arms, He holds her, tight, afraid if he lets go she'll disappear, that this is a dream, that he's still in Alaska, still in the cockpit, still dying. But she's solid, real, warm. "You're back," she whispers. "I'm back." They stand there, in the doorway, holding each other. Two people who defied statistics, who survived separation, who kept promises. After a long moment, Vivian steps back, takes his hand, places it on her stomach. He feels movement, a kick, their child, real, alive, proof that tomorrow exists. "She kicks all the time," Vivian says. "Strong, like her father. I know, don't ask me how, I just know." Nate kneels, puts his ear to Vivian's stomach, listens, hears the heartbeat, steady, strong, the sound of the future, the sound of everything he fought for. "Hi, baby," he whispers. "It's your daddy. Sorry I'm late. I was flying, but I'm here now, and I'm never leaving again." June 7th, 1944, 2:17 in the morning. Nate paces the hospital waiting room. 5 hours of labor, 5 hours of waiting, of helplessness, of fear that's different from combat fear, deeper, more primal. A nurse emerges, smiling. "Mr. Cordell, you have a daughter." The world stops, then restarts. Different, new. He follows the nurse down a hallway, through a door, into a room where Vivian lies exhausted, beautiful, alive, holding a bundle wrapped in white. "Meet Celeste," Vivian says. "Celeste Marie Cordell." Nate approaches, slowly, like approaching something sacred, something fragile. His daughter is tiny, 6 pounds, 18 inches, dark hair, eyes closed, sleeping. Vivian places her in Nate's arms. He's held 1,000-pound bombs, controlled 3-ton aircraft, but this 8-pound human terrifies him. "I've got you," he whispers. "Daddy's got you." Celeste opens her eyes, blue, bright, looking up at him, seeing him, knowing him somehow. And in that moment, Nate understands something he couldn't have known at 12,000 feet over the Bering Sea with 64 enemy aircraft bearing down. He wasn't fighting for abstractions, not for duty, not for country, not even for the men on the ground. He was fighting for this exact moment, this specific pair of blue eyes looking up at him. This tiny human who will never know war, who will grow up in a world he helped protect. Every bullet he dodged, every degree of engine temperature, every second of carbon monoxide poisoning, every flip between inverted and upright, all of it, for her. "Hi, Celeste," he whispers. "I'm your daddy, and I flew upside down to meet you." Tears run down his face, not from fear, not from pain, from joy, from overwhelming, complete, perfect joy. Vivian reaches for his hand. "You came back, that's all I asked. You kept your word." Nathaniel Cordell, who faced 64 aircraft alone, who flew upside down for 11 minutes, who landed a burning plane with no engine cries. Because this is worth more than any medal, more than any citation, more than any recognition. This is what it means to survive, not just to live, but to have something to live for. July 1944. Nate returns to duty, not combat, training command, teaching young pilots, passing on knowledge, showing them how to survive. He flies 95 more missions over the next year. Patrol flights, training flights, test flights. None of them combat, all of them safe. In one mission, he encounters 2 more Oscar fighters. The war is ending. The Japanese are retreating. These Oscars are lost, low on fuel, damaged. Nate could shoot them down, should shoot them down. Enemy aircraft, legitimate targets, but he remembers Lieutenant Takeshi Yamamoto, remembers the salute, remembers respect between warriors. Nate escorts the Oscars to a neutral zone, lets them go. They disappear into clouds. He never reports it, never tells anyone. Some debts transcend orders. September 2nd, 1945. Japan surrenders. The war ends. Nate is 25 years old, has flown 145 combat and training missions, 5 confirmed kills, Silver Star, Air Medal with clusters. Survived. He could stay in the service, make a career. The Air Force is separating from the Army. Needs experienced pilots, needs heroes. But Nate has a daughter who is learning to walk, a wife who deserves a husband, a life that waits. He resigns his commission, goes back, becomes a civilian, boring, beautiful, alive. 1971. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Ohio. Colonel Nathaniel Cordell, he rejoined during Korea, stayed for 26 years. Stands in front of 300 young pilots. His retirement ceremony. End of service. End of an era. He's 51 years old. Gray at the temples, lines around his eyes. The young lieutenant from Alaska is gone, replaced by this man, older, wiser, tired. Young men, he says, his voice is steady, calm, the same voice that radioed the tower 28 years ago. You'll ask me about December 13th. Everyone does. Was I scared? He pauses, looks at the faces. Boys really, 18, 20, 22, the age he was when he learned what fear means. I was terrified every second. Fear doesn't make you weak. Fear is your body telling you the truth, that you're mortal, that you can die, that choices have consequences. Another pause. But fear and duty can exist in the same heart. You can be afraid and still act, can be terrified and still choose. That's what courage is, not the absence of fear. The decision to move forward despite it. He looks down at the silver star on his chest, still there after 28 years. Tarnished, worn, real. Someone will ask, would you do it again, knowing what you know, knowing you could have died? He thinks about this, about 64 aircraft, about fire and smoke and inverted flying, about 11 minutes that should have killed him, about coming back, about Celeste, about Vivian, about 28 years of life he almost didn't live. Yes, he says simply, because some things are worth dying for and some people are worth living for. The trick is knowing which is which. The pilots applaud. He salutes them. They salute back. He walks off the stage, out of the Air Force, into retirement, into the rest of his life. 2004. Seattle, Washington, October 15th. Nathaniel Cordell dies peacefully at his residence. 84 years old. Vivian beside him, holding his hand. 62 years of marriage, a record in their family. Maybe a record anywhere. Celeste is there, 60 years old now. Retired Navy pilot herself, first woman to fly combat support missions in Vietnam, following her father's path, making him proud. In his final moments, Nate's mind drifts, not to the medals, not to the missions, not to the fame, to a cockpit, to a moment, to a choice, to 64 aircraft and the decision to engage, to flying upside down because upside down was the only way to survive, to Vivian's voice on the phone, to Celeste's first cry, to ordinary days that became extraordinary simply by existing. Did I do okay? He whispers, to Vivian, to God, to the universe. Vivian squeezes his hand. You came back, Nate. That's all I ever wanted. You came back. He smiles, closes his eyes. And the fear that has lived in his chest for 61 years since that December morning finally releases. He's back. His funeral is small. Family, close friends, veterans, but 12 men attend whom nobody knows, pilots ranging from 40 to 90 years old. From different wars, different generations, different aircraft. They don't speak to the family, don't introduce themselves, just stand in the back, wearing their dress uniforms, saluting the casket. After the service, Celeste approaches them. Did you serve with my father? The oldest 92, hunched, trembling, shakes his head. Never met him, ma'am. But I learned his technique, the inverted flying, Saved my life in Korea. Another pilot, younger, speaks. I'm a test pilot. Had a control failure, remembered his story, flew inverted, lived. A third, fighter instructor. I teach what he did, against the manual tactics, thinking past doctrine, survival through innovation. They tell their stories, all different, all the same. Men who lived because Nathaniel Cordell proved the impossible was possible, that rules can be broken, that courage is a choice. Celeste thanks them, shakes their hands, watches them leave. 12 men, strangers, brothers, her father's true legacy. Not medals, not citations, not fame, lives saved by example, by refusing to quit, by flying upside down when the manual said it couldn't be done. Today, right now, this moment, somewhere a pilot faces impossible odds, an aircraft damaged, an engine failing, death approaching at terminal velocity. That pilot remembers a story about Alaska, about 64 aircraft, about a lieutenant who threw out the manual and survived. That pilot makes a choice, not the safe choice, not the easy choice, the right choice. And lives. Because Nathaniel Cordell flew upside down, because courage is contagious, because some stories don't end, they echo, forever, through generations, through time, one man, one aircraft, one impossible decision. December 13th, 1943, the day the manual was rewritten, the day one pilot proved that when you're outnumbered 64-1, when your engine is on fire, when every system is failing, when death is certain. Sometimes the only way forward is upside down, and sometimes against all odds, impossible becomes possible. Because someone refused to quit.